Yeah, big JTV man, we back. We back with another one. When you never thought it was gonna be another one. Shout out to your mother's son. Shout out to Brick Baby for that little rhyme. I didn't come up with it, but we gonna come up with it, man. And you know what? This is one of my things that I've been doing, and I do it here and there. Me, myself, man. If y'all know this about me, man, I'm pro black. I'm pro our people. Doesn't mean I'm anti anybody or anything. Okay, I live my life in a black lens and I understand who I am and what I have been through, what my people have been through. You know what I mean? My identity is linked to that. I'm not going to deny who I am or what I am, but I'm here to not only entertain, but at times I want to do something like this where I do some education or at least some form of giving back to the community or spreading some knowledge and awareness and not being about the clown goofy ish all the time. What do I mean by that? That means that I'm not going to be covering things that are low vibrational all the damn time. All right. In other words, we're not talking about Diddy and Cassie right now, man. We're not. Maybe I might touch on it a little bit later on to the stream or the show, whatever. I'm not going to do that most of the time, man, because today we have to talk about some real ish. You know what I mean? I want to start off first though by giving us a little bit of music, man. Again, if you're here, smash that like button, man. Best way to support the stream. We also have a super chat goal of 5 super chats. So if y'all want to send that super chat money, man, that money on to support your boy would mean a lot. Would mean a lot. And you know that would be great. That definitely be great. But what we're gonna do really today is a history class, or at least some kind of research, or at least some kind of talk. We're gonna be real, man. We're gonna be real. We're gonna be serious as to what happened to Malcolm X, right? What happened to the revolutionary? What happened for him to get his TV turned off, right? And you know how YouTube is. You know what I mean? What happened for him to get popped? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The man known as Malcolm Little, born Malcolm Little, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, who lived to be 39 years old, right? From 1925, May 19th, 1925, uh, to February 1965. So it's been 100 years since he was born. And I believe that passed a few days ago, a few weeks ago. And that's why I really wanted to bring this up. I really wanted to talk about it because this man matters. This man matters, and I believe that his impact is larger today than ever. Really, you know what I mean? Than ever before, right? So I'm gonna bring in a song. We're gonna warm up with some song with some music as we get some people in the building, man. You know what I mean? Smash that like button, share everything in between, man. Means a lot to me, man. Let's listen to one of my favorite songs right here. Let's go. Fair use again. Let's
I
go.
am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues. I'm the spark that makes your idea bright. The same spark that lights the dark so that you can know your left from your right. I am the ballad in your box, the bullet in the gun, the inner glow that let you know to call your brother son. The story that just begun, the promise of what's to come. And I'ma remain a soldier till the war is won. Chop, chop, chop.
Chop, chop, chop. Come on, man.
I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues. I'm the spark that makes your idea bright. The same spark that lights the dark so that you can know your left from your right. I am the ballad in your box, the bullet in the gun, the inner glow that let you know to call your brother son. The story that just begun, the promise of what's to come. And I'ma remain a soldier till the war is won.
Little flip. Chop, chop, chop. Little flip.
Chop, chop, chop.
Listen to the lyrics.
I am the stone that the
Stone
builder
that the builder
refused. I am the
refused. I am
visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the
ladies
blues.
sing
I'm
the
the
blues.
spark that makes your idea bright.
Idea
The same
bright.
spark that
Same
lights the
spark
dark
like
so
the
that
dark.
you can know your left
So
from
you
your
just
right.
so
I
you're
am
right.
the
I
ballad
am the
in your
ballad in
box,
the
the
box,
bullet
the
in the
bullet
gun
in the
that make
gun.
you glow to let you know to call your brother
Yours
son.
the
The
sun,
story
the
that just
story that
begun,
just
the
begun,
promise
the
of what's to
promise.
come, and I'ma
And I'm
remain a
gonna remain a
soldier till the
soldier till
war
the
is
war
won.
is won. He, come on, man. You serve as well as can understand, man. You wouldn't understand. One more time.
I am the stone that the
Stone
builder
that the builder
refused. I am the
refused. I am
visual, the
the
inspiration that
inspiration
made
that
ladies
make
sing the
ladies sing
blues.
the
I'm the
blues.
spark that
I'm the
makes your
spark that makes
idea
your
bright.
idea
The same
bright.
spark that lights the
Spark that
dark
makes
so
the
that you
dark. So
can know
you
your
can
left from
go
your
left
right.
from
I
the
am
right.
the
I am
ballad
the
in your
ballad
box,
in
the
the box,
bullet
the
in the
bullet
gun
in the
that make you
gun.
glow to let you know to call your brother son.
The
The story
sun
that just begun, the
come,
promise of what's to come, and I'ma
come, and I'm
remain a
gonna remain a
soldier till the
soldier
war
till
is
the war is
won.
won. Little flip. Rest in peace to Pops, man. Sean Witherspoon. Let's go, man. Shout out to Common too, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the building. Smash that like button, man. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Of course, I can't hear the music. Hold on.
Yes. I wanna be as free as the spirits of those who left. I'm talking Malcolm, Coltrane, my man Yusef. Through death, through conception, new breath and resurrection. From moms who steps in that direction in the right way. Told inside is where the fight lay. And everything a nigga do may not be what he might say. Chicago night stay. Stay on the mind, but I write many lives. They lay on these lines, wait the signs other times. Many say the grind's on the mind. Shorty's blunted out and everyone wanna rhyme. Pushing lies, killers immortalized. We got arms, but won't reach for the skies. Waiting for the Lord to rise. I look into my daughter's eyes and realize I'ma learn through her. The Messiah might even return through her. If I'ma do it, I gotta change the world through her. Birds in the beds, Gramps wanting them. Demons and old friends, Pops, they hunting them. The chosen one from the land of the frozen sun. With drunk nights, can remember more than sober ones. Walk like warriors, we were never told to run. Explore the world to return to where my soul begun. Never looking back. What you find in front of me, the present is a gift. And I just wanna be.
To my uptown posse, to my uptown posse, get the gat, get the gat, get the gat. To my BK posse, to my BK posse, get the gat, get the gat, no gat. To my third wall posse, to my third wall posse, get the gat, get the gat, get the gat. You know I'm full-time tripping. The crib look like Zaha Hadid did it. Nah, he's different. Hove here to deliver you like Moses. So it's in this beautiful fact we the chosen. Throwing Rock Nation brunches. That's a feast for non-believers. I created my own Easter. Evidence for your reverence. Why would I not have a watch like a Saudi prince? It unfoils the slave that shook hands and humbled the Duke of Oil. The spook that spoke sterling silver and pearls tore tumbled out of my nappy coils. Visions of sugar plums for all of the boys and goyles. Look, why would I sell out of my ready wrist? Don't make no sense. Got more money than Goodell. A whole NFL bench. Did it one-handed like Odell. Handcuffed to a jail. I would have stayed on the sidelines if they could have tackled the chip themselves. You backstabbers gonna turn me back to the OJ. He's not who you wanna see. He's not as sweet as the OJ. When I die, please don't tweet about my death. Trying to get mentioned, bringing attention to yourself. Please don't post some pic from in the club with some culture slow like we was tighter than what we was. Tryna get likes for my love. If you can't go by the crib, then give my mama a hug. To my uptown posse, to my uptown posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. To my BK posse, to my BK posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. To my third wall posse, to my third wall posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. Tell that mag know your posse, tell that mag know your posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. You heard?
I said, do eyes up from the belly of the dunya. Do eyes up for my Umi and the Uma. Do eyes up for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan who pulled me out the grave and pointed me toward the Sunnah. Me and the Uma. Do eyes up for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan who pulled me out the grave and pointed me toward the Sunnah. Remember rapping Duke, the ha. You never thought we'd make it to La ilaha illallah. It's the day of the judgment, fulfillment of the covenant. These universal truths remain self-evident. ROC stands strong like Sphinx do. Now who wanna come test the champion sound? Limb by limb, we all gonna cut them down. Sympathy acts up. Take out the tongue. Tell that pump wave posse, tell that pump wave posse. Get the get, get the get, get the get. From the Mac to that milk to that candy. Oh, where they at, where they at, where they at?
To my uptown posse, to my uptown posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. To my BK posse, to my BK posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. To my third wall posse, to my third wall posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. Tell it mag know your posse, tell it mag know your posse, get the get, get the get, get the get. You heard?
I wanna go back to the, I wanna go back to the old. When you dance with a boy, when you dance with a boy, like you're too late, like you're too late, too late. I wanna go back to the, I wanna go back to the old. When you dance with a boy, when you dance with a boy, like you're too late, like you're too late, too late. I don't want to waste any time. I asked the question, who are the real children of Israel? And I'd like to answer it right away.
Go ahead, you understand.
Like any good lawyer in a courtroom, he tells you what he's going to prove.
All right.
And then he goes ahead and proves it and let the jury make the decision. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said that Almighty God Allah revealed to him that the black people of America are the real children of Israel. And we are the choice of God. And that unto us he will deliver his promise.
apparently two men approached the speaker's rostrum and discharged shots at him from apparently very close range.
Yes, I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint.
My mother threw herself over her babies, and she yelled out, "They're killing my husband."
I heard shots, and I saw people crawling on the floor. And so I got down too. Then when I was looking out, and I saw someone look in amazement to the front, I knew they had shot my husband.
He sustained one shot in the lower right chin and the other 6. Hit him in the chest and body.
I looked out at him and I said, he's going to die. I kept saying to myself, he's going to die, he's going to die.
How many immediately? No, he wasn't dead immediately, but expired very shortly thereafter.
Oh wow, I was on mute. Nobody told me. Nobody told me I was on mute. I apologize for that. Holy. Can y'all hear me? Get in the chat. Let me know y'all hear me. The fact remains, yo, I'm gonna slow stroke y'all into this, man. We're gonna really talk about it. And when we're talking about it, we're gonna talk about the Malcolm assassination. Here's a video excerpt on it from the Ali movie, man. By the way, fair use, fair use. This does not belong to me. Let's go. Fair use, fair use, fair use. I don't own this content. This belongs to whatever company has this movie, Warner Brothers or whoever. Let's go. So again, here he is at the Audubon Hall. This was Manhattan, New York, right? Delivering a message. Now, keep in mind, at this point, he had beef with the Nation of Islam, right? At this point, he had went to Mecca for his pilgrimage. And to give y'all some historical context, he was no longer a deep follower of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, right? Elijah Muhammad is who introduced him to the Nation of Islam and everything else. Let's go.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sure, but it still hurts.
What you doing in my pockets, man? Get your hand out of my
Hold it,
pockets.
my brothers.
You got a thief in it. Get your
You see, so it's alleged that this was a diversion, right? That these people played a diversion within Malcolm's speech, or at least his public speaking, right? And at that point, it was to divert Malcolm's security. Now, Malcolm was paranoid, extremely paranoid at this point, because he already had some kind of friction with Elijah Muhammad. And one of the most iconic Malcolm, photos, right, is him. I'm gonna show y'all right now, is him looking out his window with the gat, right? The fact remains is that dude was not in a safe environment, right? Dude was feeling bad and at least scared or shook or paranoid that the nation would go after him. Why was he paranoid? Because he was not right or in good standing with the nation. That's why he changed his name to El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, right? At that point, it was beef and it was really on site. So let's look at the content. Let's go.
Just be cool. Be cool.
Whoa. Yes. Yeah, fair use. This don't belong to me, man. This belongs to whatever company has this movie. Household was in front of crazy. Crazy, bro. Man, El Buddha in the chat twerking, having fun, man. El Buddha, smash that like button, brother. Come on, man. Support your boy. Let's go. We're going to touch on COINTELPRO soon. Don't worry about it. Let's go. See, that's the thing. I have to start from the end in order to get to the beginning, man. I'm reverse engineering the stream. We have to start at the end before we make it to the beginning. Let's go. Let's go. Smash the like button, people. Support. So in the point here, Malcolm is shot. Passing away. It's over. Rest in peace, man. Rest in power. And as y'all know, he was a great supporter of Ali. Him and Ali were basically brothers, man.
Brothers, you crazy! They killed Malcolm! They shot Malcolm! They shot Malcolm! They shot Malcolm!
He was hit 7 times in the chest and body, and 1 in the lower right chin.
7 times in the chest, bro. Crazy, man.
The unknown men walked up to the speaker's platform at the time Malcolm X was speaking. Opened fire at him very shortly. John.
Ever since it's been a long.
So that's Ali listening to the radio, hearing that Malcolm has passed away and been shot. Wow, bro. Wow.
Long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. But I've got to take my time to say this. Look. Then I go to my brother.
Fair use, of course. I don't own this content. Y'all know what it is.
Yes, sir. And I tell him, I said, brother, help me believe.
But while we see this, why? Right? You want to wonder why. Why was he shot in the chest, 39 years old, while he was presenting, or in other words, preaching in front of that congregation in Manhattan? Let's find out then. Let's find out then, right? We're here to find out. We're here to investigate. What did he say about Elijah Muhammad? Let's find out then. Let's go. Fair uses belongs to Smithsonian, man, not me. Let's go. The Nation of Islam in June 1965, the Nation of Islam files a lawsuit to reclaim possession of Malcolm's house in Queens, New York. After a court appearance regarding the eviction, Malcolm explosive secret.
And I had stated in a newspaper article about an effort to take my life back in January, and at that time the Muslims denied it.
Why are they threatening your life?
Well, primarily because they're afraid that I will tell the real reason that I'm out of the black Muslim movement, which I never told. I kept to myself. But the real reason is that Elijah Muhammad, the head of the movement, is the father of 8 children by 6 different teenage girls. 6 different teenage girls who were his private personal secretary. The one who first made me aware of this was Wallace Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad's son. And it was their fear that if I remained in the black Muslim movement, and this came into the knowledge of his followers, that they would leave him and follow me. A plan immediately was set in motion to take me down, put me out, and the statement that I made about Kennedy was used as a pretext to take me down.
Did you get out of the... What will you take to protect yourself from this threat?
I take no steps. I have a rifle. If anybody comes to my house without a good reason, I intend to try and use it, and that's all.
So here you understand that there is clear beef and issues within the Nation of Islam, specifically Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm, man. Right? The allegations that Elijah Muhammad was impregnating a lot of women in the Nation of Islam were not really allegations, they were proven. It was actually proven that Elijah Muhammad was a pedophile, man, was a PDF file, right? This is not something shocking or surprising because unfortunately within a lot of pro-black movements, unfortunately, there has been a ton, and I hate to say it, pedophiles and PDF files, man. Do y'all know who Dr. York is, man? Right? Dr. York is a leader from the 1990s, right? Who created essentially a small version of Egypt or a pro-black nationalist movement, but over time was uncovered to be a massive PDF file, man. He had touched a ton of children, man. And dude is currently in jail for the rest of his life, man. Here's the even more shocking part. The man still has followers, bro. I'm not here to completely destroy Elijah Muhammad as a teacher or at least some kind of, you know what I mean, leader. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, it's crazy that somebody as powerful as Malcolm X, right, went against his teacher when he found out the truth, right? And I'm telling y'all right now, this goes back to something that I've always thought about and I've always been a proponent of, that you shouldn't idly worship any man. You shouldn't, man. You should not, bruh. You should not. And before we get into COINTELPRO, let's actually look at some of the people that were allegedly part of this assassination plot against Malcolm.
Malcolm X, revolutionary, civil rights leader.
By the way, this is not my content. I believe this belongs to ABC News. Fair use guidelines. Shout out to, you know what I mean, El Buddha Heru. Phil Moreland, Red Pill, Moreland, Blue Pill, Desire, Draw, our FBI COINTELPRO. They are the devil and PDF files gangstering the Lion of Judah. They want us all unalived and enslaved. Amen. Say it with your chest, man. Smash that like button, though. Let's get it, though. Let's go.
Firebrand.
We invested 310 years of slave labor. They can give us the back pay.
His assassination inside Harlem's Audubon Ballroom in 1965 was a wound to the heart of Black America. Of the 3 men found guilty of his murder, 2 were wrongfully convicted.
2 people were not inside of the ballroom the day that Malcolm was shot.
See, these are the games that people play, man. People who weren't even in the spot were actually, you know what I mean, charged with popping Malcolm X. Crazy. Let's go.
Their case finally reopened, correcting a miscarriage of justice.
We are moving today to vacate the convictions of Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam for the assassination of Malcolm X.
Nobody was listening.
But the world is listening now.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, we're getting to the point right now where people who are accused of the assassination are being scapegoated or at least charged. Ain't that the truth, man? Haven't we had a history of being charged with things we didn't even do? And guess what? I don't care. I'm gonna put Diddy and Cassie in this conversation too. These government organizations, right, have a history of pursuing Black people, specifically Black men. I'm just gonna say they have a history of pursuing Black people, specifically Black men, for their own agenda. What am I talking about? The FBI, again, was created, right? I believe in the 1940s, right? When was the FBI created? 1908, right? Under the guidance of J. Edgar Hoover. It's right here, right? One of the first FBI task forces, right, was to go after Jack Johnson, right? Who is Jack Johnson? Jack Johnson is being charged essentially with the same or similar, actually the exact same charges as Diddy right now. Keep in mind, Jack Johnson passed away some 70 some years ago in 1946, right? He was the first Black heavyweight boxing champion of the world, pound for pound, right? This individual, Jack Johnson, had a white wife, and he loves smashing white women, bro. I'm just gonna keep it a bean. He loves smashing white women. It is what it is. By the way, so did Malcolm. Malcolm's first few girlfriends were white. It is what it is, right? And even I believe Malcolm X's grandfather was a white man because Malcolm X's mother was mixed race, right? I say all that to say this. Jack Johnson here, he was charged under the Mann Act. What is the Mann Act? The Mann Act is basically an act or at least a law, right? Let me pull it up. The Mann Act, also known as the White Slave Traffic Act, right, is a United States federal law that criminalizes the transportation of individuals across state lines for moral purposes, including prostitution and other sexual acts. It was initially passed in 1910. Keep in mind, the FBI was founded in 1908. Let's keep going, bro. Cross state lines, and has been amended several times, right? It was initially passed in 1910. It's been amended several times, particularly in 1978 and 1986, to expand the scope and clarify the application, right? So let's look at the purposes. The act was created to address the issue of white slavery, which was a term used to describe forced prostitution. Again, Jack Johnson had some white ass girlfriends, white wife as well. They considered that white slavery at the time, bro. Let's give it going. Broad application. The original form of the law was broadly worded. So they put that on whoever. That's what they do on the Diddy right now, by the way, leading to its use in cases involving consensual sex between adults, according to Wikipedia. Again, these are BS laws that were constructed to destroy black people, specifically black men in this instance. Amendments. The act has been amended to focus on transporting minors for prostitution or other illegal sexual acts and to make it gender neutral. All right. Contemporary significance. The Mann Act remains in effect and is used to persecute individuals who transport victims for the purposes of sexual exploitation or other illegal acts. So essentially, here, if you pay attention here, it's saying that this act is used to charge people who are transporting people, so victims specifically, for sexual exploitation and illegal. This is what they're using in the Diddy case to place Cassie as the victim of sexual exploitation, and Diddy was moving her across state lines, thus making it a federal crime. Notable cases. The Mann Act was used in several high profile cases, including the persecution of Jack Johnson, like I said, and the conviction of musician Chuck Berry. Oh, it's kind of interesting how they both black. Oh, funny how that worked. Let's go, man.
By 1965, Malcolm X had.
By the way, again, what does that have to do with Malcolm X? It has to do with wrongful convictions and people who are put in a place, right, for specific reasons by the government in order for them to get their way and their agenda. Right? Malcolm X as an individual was seen as a threat. Let's go back to what the bro was saying, El Buddha was saying. Red pill, no, not that comment. Bro said it was the FBI COINTELPRO, right? I'm telling y'all right now, bruh, it's very easy to understand that Malcolm had multiple enemies, multiple people who wanted him out the paint. Let's not even cap about that, right? But to make him go away and disappear, they had to pop him. Let's talk about it.
Had enemies. He had split from the Nation of Islam, and he was under surveillance by the FBI.
There's a moment in 1964 when J. Edgar Hoover.
Let's run that back.
By 1965,
it was under surveillance by what? Let's go.
Malcolm X had enemies. He had split from the Nation of Islam, and he was under surveillance by the FBI.
There's a moment in 1964 when J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director, sends a telegram to his office located in New York. And basically he says, quote, "Do something about Malcolm X."
They wanted him out the paint, man. They wanted him gone. They wanted him popped. Let's go.
The role that the FBI played, they knew how to exploit, right, the tensions, and they spread suspicion and hatred through the ranks against Malcolm.
On February 21st, 1965, it all came to a head, just as Malcolm X was to deliver a...
Exactly. It all came to a head. Why? Why did this all happen? Why did it all come to a head? It came to a head because they were scared. They were scared of what he was able to do in his message. See, there's something you got to realize about black folks, man. We have a culture of hating ourselves and not knowing who we are. And that's by design, because when you don't know who you are and you don't appreciate or love yourself or your own people, you're liable to fall into traps of somebody who can oppress you or lead you to your own destruction, manipulation, and so on and so forth, right? So why Malcolm was so powerful and so great is that he reminded a lot of black folks who they were and gave encouragement and strength and power. So of course they had to get him out the paint, man. It's pretty easy to understand, dog. So multiple people and agencies had a reason to do it. Let's go then.
Speech at the Audubon Ballroom.
He walked out onto the stage. Then a man stepped up 15 feet from the stage. He crouched, took perfect aim, and blasted right through the lectern into Malcolm's heart.
One gunman, Talmadge Hare, now Mujahideen Abdul Halim, was arrested fleeing the scene.
What's your wire? What's your wire? Come on.
Later, the NYPD arrested Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam.
Did they say what they were arresting you for?
Killing Malcolm, not the murder of Malcolm X.
You fit the description, bro. You fit the description. Ain't that a BITCH, huh? You just a black man living in America or any kind of society, and you just fit that description. Isn't that crazy, bro?
Multiple eyewitnesses said they'd seen Aziz in the ballroom with a firearm, but he told police he had been home that day.
I didn't have anything at all, in any way, shape, or form, with the killing of Malcolm X.
Who else was home with you that day?
My wife and my children.
So you had, as they say in court, you had an alibi.
Yes.
Hare confessed, but Aziz and Islam maintained their innocence.
When it became clear to Talmadge Hare,
Smash the like button, man. Appreciate y'all. Fair use, fair use. I don't own this content. Clearly belongs to ABC News. Shout out to their coverage. We're going to talk a little bit deeper about mainstream coverage and what was happening around the 60s. Again, man, this understanding of who you are, right? And having a lack of leadership, not only at home, but having a lack of leadership in the society, in the community. That's downfall, man. That's the downfall. If you have nothing to look up to, nothing to follow, you will break yourself. You'll be broken. You'll actually be vulnerable too. You'll be vulnerable, dog. So it took multiple people, multiple levels of organizations had every single right to pop Malcolm. Let's go.
that he was going to be convicted. He confessed.
Were the reasons justified? No, obviously not. But to them, it was. To them, it was.
His role in the murder. But he said, these two men, they're innocent. They had nothing to do with it. But the jury didn't believe him, and all three of them were convicted in April of 1966.
Muhammad Aziz was sentenced to life in prison.
People knew why you were there, that you were one of the men convicted of killing Malcolm. Were there threats because of that?
To me? No.
Yes, sir.
No. The people know I didn't do it. Nobody ever thought I did it. Just white people. Our people never.
This is a fact. Just you see what I'm trying to say here? You see how this man is being done, right? Black folks still getting done like that today. Let's get it.
Never thought I did it.
In 1977 and 78, Talmadge Hare, the man who years ago confessed to killing Malcolm X, signed affidavits saying not only did Islam and Aziz not kill Malcolm.
So this is the alleged man, Thomas Hare, who actually popped Malcolm X, right? Now, the underlying reasons he did that, we do not know, but we have a hint, right? So the other two people that were part of it, Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam, were in jail for such a long time for a crime they did not commit.
Malcolm X, he for the first time named his co-conspirators. And based on those signed affidavits from Talmadge Hare, Aziz and Islam appealed their convictions.
And they appealed their convictions because They were not there. They were not part of it. Let's go.
but those appeals were denied. Aziz was eventually paroled in 1985 after spending 20 years in prison, but his innocence was still in question. Until 2020, when lawyers for Aziz convinced then Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance to reopen the case. Vance sat down with my colleague, Pierre Thomas.
What was it about what was presented?
So that man lost 20 some years of his life for something he didn't even do. And that ain't that a B?
Presented to you that made you think, maybe we should look at this?
Clearly, the Malcolm X case was, and his assassination was hugely important historically.
The amount of information here is like nothing we've ever seen in a wrongful conviction case.
The joint team found evidence that the FBI had withheld documents that could have exonerated him.
Oh. Well, let's run that back again. What did bro say?
Seen in a wrongful conviction case.
The joint team found evidence that the FBI had withheld documents that could have exonerated Aziz and Islam.
It appeared to have been withheld intentionally.
Was it coming from the top?
Clearly, J. Edgar Hoover had, in the FBI records, had apparently issued orders that information was not to be shared with the NYPD. Why that was being done?
You know why that was being done, man. They wanted to pop him. They wanted to pop him and have their hands rubbed clean because they knew that this was the time to attack him. Let me tell you something, man. When people are elevating, especially black people, right? It's funny how somehow they get popped. Somehow there's a crazy allegation. Somehow something deters them. They become broken or destroyed in the dominant society. Why is that? Why is that? You have to understand that entire agencies were created to stop individual black people. Entire agencies were created, bro. Y'all understand that the CIA, the CIA was created in the 1940s, man. In the 1940s, man. September 18th, 1947, man. Intelligence agencies created. You believe that these intelligence agencies were created for ulterior motives? No, they were created to look at you. See, let me tell you something, man. The truth of the matter is, black folks don't recognize their greatness and who they are. Right? That entire agencies are created to put drugs in your community, guns in your community, and everything to destroy a semblance of a leader or something that's heading to a higher level of elevation within your people and community, man. Let's run that back.
Had, in the FBI records, had apparently issued orders that information was not to be shared with the NYPD. Why that was being done? Presumably for no good reason.
Aziz's conviction had relied on eyewitness testimony, now discredited.
Now we know we had no evidence about what kind of identification procedures actually had happened. Were they done at the standards that we would require today? It's a complete empty notebook.
Let me tell you something, man. It's hilarious how these people want to pretend like they don't know the reason. They wanted to pop Malcolm X, man. They wanted to get him out the paint. What are we doing?
On how the identifications were made.
Finally, 55 years after Aziz's conviction, exonerated, with his family by his side. Khalil.
Ain't it funny how that works? 55 years, they're going to exonerate you for a crime you never committed and something that you weren't even around or a part of. Right? The lies, the deceit. It's evil.
Islam posthumously exonerated as well.
We are moving today to vacate the convictions of Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam.
By the way, I was talking about Jack Johnson earlier. Jack Johnson got pardoned by Donald Trump. Yes, Jack Johnson, the person who was charged with the Mann Act, a law they created because he had a white wife and was having consensual intercourse with white women. They created that law, and more than 100 some years later, they pardoned him for something they created. The F-U-C-K? What the hell? What the helly? What the hell? Let's go, man.
The assassination of Malcolm X.
The joint motion is hereby granted.
At the end of the day, where does the accountability lie for Mr. Aziz and Mr. Islam?
Great question.
Well, the accountability lies in our justice system.
Goofy. Let's go, man.
I think period, full stop. Whether you call it the police or the FBI or the prosecutors.
Muhammad Aziz and the
So it's crazy how they create the problem and also the solution, right? Funny how that works.
The estate of Khalil Islam are filing several multi-million-dollar lawsuits.
Through the civil lawsuits, we are pointing our fingers at the government officials and saying, you need to be held responsible for what you did here. You destroyed many lives, not just the lives of Muhammad and Khalil.
You've gotten your good name back.
Well, I never lost it. Other people did what they did with it, but I never lost my name. If the book tells you a good name is better than fine gold. So this name is gold. Better than gold.
Beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing. Now, let's try to understand the background of this, right? Let's really get behind the scenes of it, all right? Why did they really want him gone? Why did they really want him out of the paint? And this is something that I've griped with and just really thought about is the hatred in our community, right? The dysfunction, the unruliness, the everything that has destroyed who we are as a people, as a community, right? All of this together, right, came to a head so much so in the 60s in the civil rights movement that Malcolm X was seen as a symbol not only of hope but of change, of courage, right? And honestly, he was seen as a threat, bro. He was seen as a threat. Let's stop sugarcoating it, right? Why was he seen as a threat? I'll show you why he was seen as a threat, and I'm gonna have him say in his own words. Let's go. Appreciate y'all for being in the building, man. Showing love. Appreciate y'all for being here. Smash the like button, man. If you want to support me even more, feel free to send a super chat, man. It helps me do the content, the research, and everything else in between. Let's see the man speak. This was him in 1965. Unfortunately, 3 years before his passing on CBC. Shout out CBC. Shout out my Canadians. Talk about
Challenge welcomes the outspoken Negro leader, Malcolm X.
Sir, what's the real reason why you two men split? Is it merely ideological or is it personality? What else?
Probably. This was, again, around the time that he split from the NOI, right? Keep in mind, bro, the Nation of Islam, right? Its ideology, ultimately, right, was pro-black. Let's start off with that. Pan-Africanist in nature, segregationalist in nature, Islamic, right? So it was a pro-black movement, almost black supremacist movement. When Malcolm started in the Nation of Islam, he was very much pulled in that lane, right? But by the time that he had split from Elijah Muhammad, he had been more inclusive in his message, right? When you juxtapose that to the message of Malcolm X, right? What was the truth? What's the better way? It depends. It depends on your philosophy and how you view things, right? Let's get it though.
Personality. It was not the statement that originally was given by the movement when we split. More personality than anything else.
You've called people like Martin Luther
At that point, he's covering for Elijah Muhammad. Let's go.
King, who just got a Nobel Peace Prize, an Uncle Tom. Is this correct? First?
Well, I'd rather say that in the States, there's a law that has recently been passed, or a decision handed down by the court, wherein if you call someone an Uncle Tom, they can sue you for libel.
Well,
so I never refer to them as Uncle Toms. I would say that Uncle Martin is my friend.
Uncle Martin is your friend, yet you would disagree with his approach to what he wants to accomplish.
Definitely. If his approach would bring about...
In my eyes, bro, I disagree with a lot of Malcolm's approaches, man. I'm more on the side of I'm more aligned with Malcolm, man. I've always been more aligned with Malcolm. This was a few, actually, if I'm not mistaken, this was in '65. This was before he passed away. That's actually right next to it, yeah.
What the black man in America needs to completely eliminate the problem that we have, I would say well and good. But I very much doubt that anyone who adopts the approach that Martin Luther King has been teaching to our people in that country can point to any meaningful gains that has actually served to solve the problem.
Black Muslims...
Get in the chat, by the way. Let me know if y'all agree with Malcolm or Martin Luther King's approach in terms of the civil rights movement and what's happened afterwards. I'm in Canada, man. I'm Canadian, right? But these words that he talks about ring true even today. Let's go.
Have sometimes, whether you have or not, and I think probably you have sometimes, it seemed to me, been preaching hate to meet hate.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
But there's a lot of talk that sounds very much like it.
No, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching hate. But actually, they're just exposing him for being responsible.
Don't y'all see this happening even today? With people saying, "Oh, black people are more racist than white people," where a lot of some white supremacists try to take victim mindset and narratives, right? Where they want to accuse black people of DEI programs and all that ish, right? There's a whole ecosystem, not only on the internet, that pushes white victimhood, that the white man is being oppressed. You know what I mean? And these are the people that have online followings, right? These are the people that are elevated through forms of social media. These are the clowns that are being followed, man. And I say this as somebody who used to be a fan of this idiot until I realized he's really an idiot. And what makes it worse is I still am an idiot in a lot of ways. But Malcolm is speaking these things in 1965, y'all. We're talking about 60, close to 70, probably 70 years ago, bro. The clowns over the internet that are pushing stupid narratives of white grievances in order to be the victim, right? Or we're victim of DEI, we're victims of this black degenerate culture. We have black fatigue. Ain't that hilarious? Right? And they upgraded so much that they have tap dancers like this guy over here. You know what I mean? Raccoons who are willing to push, you know what I mean? Narratives and talking points to get ahead and make money. Ain't that a bitch? Individuals who are paid to buck dance and do what they can for the dollar. You don't see a lot of Malcolms left. You don't see it. Why? That's by design. They popped him. Let's go. Let's go back. Let's talk about it. Set up the question. He's talking about today. Let's go.
Probably you have sometimes, it seemed to me, been preaching hate to meet hate.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
But there's a lot of talk that sounds very much like it.
No, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching
Fair use, fair use. Look how eloquent this man is speaking. We love it. Let's go.
hate, but actually they're just exposing him for being responsible for what exists.
Well, that's something of an argument, but I've heard speeches made by some of the people of your group. I think I've heard you make speeches. It seemed to me that you were advocating what I would have to describe, I think, as violence to meet the serious injuries that have been done your people, with which I totally agree.
I don't call that violence. I don't in any way encourage black people to go out and initiate acts of aggression indiscriminately against whites. But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary, by any means necessary, to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
Just before Pierre takes it, you've got a pretty good fighter and the world's heavyweight champion lined up with you to help out. Yes, Pierre.
Well, Mr. X, if I guess I call you that, is that the proper appellation, yes. Mr. X? I'm wondering if you still believe, as I think you certainly did at the time you're out.
You see what I'm talking about here? What scared a lot of people in the contemporary power structure at that time, and even the structure right now, is that Malcolm was not some happy-go-lucky type of guy who was comfortable, right, being submissive or subversive, right? The ideology of somebody like Malcolm X, who was more nonviolent resistant in his approach, right? I kind of like this. Let's look at this. Son of a, but also it displayed in their character and their history of who these men were, right? These men were diametrically opposed, right? You look at somebody like Martin Luther King, he was an educated guy from jump. Malcolm X was a hustler, a person in the streets who went to jail and had to be reformed from that. I think that his life story chronicles what a lot of black men are and have gone through, bruh. And when you have somebody who's as relatable as Malcolm, juxtaposed to somebody who's more of a bourgeoisie like Martin, you see something that they wanted to destroy. Let's read the difference. Martin Luther King, son of a Catholic minister, successful middle-class upbringing, saw integration as a key to success and improving civil rights, focused heavily upon voter registration and desegregation of the South, wanted to work along white politicians to achieve change, met violence with non-violence, believed in peaceful protests. You see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking, you understand why Martin Luther King has always been displayed among schools, among everything. They don't want to mention Malcolm X because Malcolm X talked about defiance. He didn't talk about buck dancing and falling down and taking a check to say talking points or things that are detrimental and against your own people, right? Malcolm X, his point, nonviolence has failed. Member of Nation of Islam, a group which shared many Muslim beliefs. Very troubled upbringing. Father had been shot by white supremacists. You understand? Believed that integration had failed. I feel him on that. Believed that black people were better off living separately or even returning to Africa. I'm not against that. Critical of Martin Luther King. He felt the civil rights movement had went wrong working with white politicians. He saw the white politicians as the enemy. We going somewhere. Wanted to help deal with all inequalities in both the North and South. Believed that violence should be met with violence. To a certain degree, I can understand Malcolm's point. When your people have been oppressed and beat down so much, what other choice do you have? Let's finish this off, bro.
Allied to the Black Muslim movement in a segregated black nation in North America.
I don't believe in any form of segregation or any form of racism. I'm against any form of segregation and against racism.
Is it? Am I right in saying that the Black Muslim movement, which you have left, did believe in that?
Well, Elijah Muhammad taught his followers that the only solution was a separate state for black people. And as long as I thought he genuinely believed that himself, I believed in him and believed in his solution. But when I began to doubt that he himself believed that that was feasible, and I saw no kind of action designed to bring it into existence or bring it about, then I turned in a different direction.
Are you still a Muslim yourself?
Oh, yes. I'm a Muslim. I believe in the religion of Islam, which believes in brotherhood, complete brotherhood of all people. But at the same time,
I like that. I like that. And look, I'm not Muslim myself, I'm a Christian, but ultimately, what he was becoming, again, he got assassinated at 39 years old. This was a few months before he got assassinated. What he was going to become was greater than what he was. Let's go.
that I believe in this brotherhood. I don't believe in forcing my desire for brotherhood upon those who aren't willing to accept it.
Of course, I think the Christians would say that they also believed in brotherhood. What did you say to that?
I'd say they believe in it, but don't practice it.
That'd be a pretty good answer.
Sir, when the muezzin goes up in the minaret twice a day, he cries to the world, there is but one God, and he is Allah. Do you deny that there is a Christian God?
The muezzin does this 5 times a day.
5 times, and I only heard him twice.
Well, you were fortunate to hear him twice. But he does this 5 times a day, and the same God that he says that he expresses the existence of is the God that the Christians profess to believe in themselves, and the God that the Jews believe in. One God, the creator of the universe.
Monolithic Abrahamic religions. Let's go.
The Muslims believe in the God that created the universe, and I think the Christians do, and the Jews do. Now, as long as all of them are talking about the creator, the Jews may call him Jehovah, and Christians may have another name for him. Those who are Arabic speaking refer to him as Allah. Well, we believe in the same God.
Now, as the Muslim religion advances in the United States, are you modernizing it or sticking with the old faiths? For example, the complete segregation of the sexes.
I think that everything today on this earth is being modernized. Religious principles and practices, as well as political and other things.
Now, when you went to Mecca, this is a very sacred and forbidden city. I tried to get to Mecca myself and certainly didn't make it, not being a Muslim. But how would they accept you as one? You're an American. There are few American Muslims.
This is true. And by being an American and not having not being able to speak the Arabic language, I did strike a snag, a very serious snag. But I was fortunate to have been pretty well known by the officials in Arabia, and they knew.
And this what we're talking about here is that Malcolm X particularly went to Mecca for more enlightenment, right? That's why he separated himself from really the Nation of Islam, because he was searching more. Keep in mind, this man passed away at 39 years old. Guys, I don't want to emphasize how young that is. He didn't even touch 40, right? Malcolm X, I believe, was closer to 50 by the time that they popped him. The fact remains is that, you know what I mean? This man was a young man, and who knows where his full evolution would have taken him. Sorry to say, Malcolm X was also 39. My mistake. Same age as Malcolm, right? The fact remains that this is an individual who went to Mecca the year before he passed in order for him to get closer to his faith. And they popped him. They popped him. And when I say they, I believe, again, it was coordinated. It wasn't just one person's
Knew too that I had accepted Orthodox Islam. It had been highly publicized in the paper, and I became a guest of the state. I was a guest of Prince Faisal, the present King Faisal, and they made it possible for me to go before the committee, Hajj committee or Hajj court, who examines you and asks you questions about your belief, and if you pass it, then you are okay to go to Mecca. But
you would have to have a translator then.
I had one. Then realizing that our problem in America, that we are black Americans, and we have a problem that goes beyond religion, we formed a group known as the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And the objective of this organization, it's non-religious, number one. Any Negro can belong to it. And the objective of that organization is to bring about a condition that will guarantee respect and recognition of the 22 million black Americans as human beings. We feel that the problem, number one, of the black man in America is beyond America's ability to solve. It's a human problem, not an American problem or a Negro problem. And as a human problem or a world problem, we feel that it should be taken out of the jurisdiction of the United States government and the United States courts and taken into the United Nations in the same manner that the problems of the black man in South Africa, Angola, and other parts of the world, and even the way they're trying to bring the problems of the Jews in Russia into the United Nations because of violation of human rights. We believe that our problem is one not of violation of civil rights, but a violation of human rights. Not only are we denied the right to be a citizen in the United States, we're denied the right to be a human being.
And that's why he got popped. Let's go.
Mr. X, may I thank you very much for coming on our program and perhaps clearing away some of the cobwebs of misconception that some of us might have had about your belief. And I think you're a very sincere man, and it takes a lot of courage to admit a former belief is wrong, and we congratulate you for that and the service you performed tonight in giving us your views. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? That's why they wanted him popped. That's why they wanted him popped. We got to the why. We understood who. But have we really understood who? Hey, man. We got one more. I got one more in the clip. I got one more in the clip, man, and I'm going to head out. I'm not going to stay here for long. Let's talk about it. Let's really, really talk about it. We're going to talk about COINTELPRO. Let's talk about it.
Government agencies.
By the way, this doesn't belong to me. This belongs to the infographic show. Fair use. I'll be interspersing my commentary as we move along. Let's go.
Supposedly intended to protect American civilians from the worst criminals imaginable. From domestic. The FBI is a government agency supposedly intended to protect American civilians from the worst criminals imaginable. From domestic terrorists to serial killers. But who do you run to when the FBI wants you dead? It may seem like the high concept premise of the latest Jason Bourne movie.
Reality is stranger than fiction. Let's get it there.
But this was actually the terrifying reality faced by a number of political leaders and public figures as a result of COINTELPRO, the FBI's clandestine series of projects intended to bring American activism to its knees. But what was COINTELPRO really? When did it happen? Who were its targets? And what terrifying illegal methods were employed under its purview? There's only one way to find out.
It's kind of like how the CIA was intended to create, you know what I mean, counterintelligence spies, when in reality it was used to do a lot of sickening, messed up things. Let's go.
But be warned, by the time this video is over, the FBI won't seem like the brave crime stoppers the movies often paint them as. Under COINTELPRO, which stands for Counterintelligence Program, they were responsible for everything from psychological warfare to cold-blooded murder, all committed against mostly non-violent individuals whose greatest crime was questioning the system. Just how far the system will go to silence these questions will alarm and terrify you. And at the heart of it all was FBI.
By the way, I want to remind you that COINTELPRO is still going on. It's just more digital and actually easier now. Crazy.
Director J. Edgar Hoover, who opened a nightmarish Pandora's box of government overreach and illegal domestic espionage. The year is 1956, and the Red Scare is.
Just want to remind you that J. Edgar Hoover is a evil MF, man. Let's get it
in
on.
Full swing. You don't need to be an expert in American political history to know that mid-1950s America was terrified of communism. The threat of the bomb loomed large over American psyches, and Soviet spies and sleeper agents seemed to lurk in every shadow. Russia and the West were fighting a culture war, and the US was scared it was losing. When someone is afraid and backed into a corner, there's almost nothing they won't do to protect themselves.
You get desperate, man. You get desperate. They were, by the way, Russia and the Soviet Union was whooping feet, man. Let's get it done.
Whether the initial fear is justified or not, the U.S. needed bold strategies to fight the perceived communist threat growing within their own borders, and J. Edgar Hoover was on the case. He gave his underlings a sweeping directive to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize any political groups deemed too submersive for the FBI's liking. Hoover had the tacit permission of President Eisenhower and soon after President Kennedy, and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy personally signed off on a number of covert projects under the COINTELPRO banner. Of course, while every sinister government project requires some enabling bureaucrats to sign all the permission slips, there always needs to be some triggermen willing to get their hands dirty and get the dastardly job done. In this case, we have William C. Sullivan, director of the FBI's domestic intelligence operations. Sullivan's first target was the Communist Party of America, who, on name alone, were obviously no friends of the Cold War FBI. Some of the techniques used by the FBI to destroy the Communist Party from the inside, including having agents sending threatening anonymous phone calls, having the IRS constantly audit them, and sending in forged documents to sow dissent among the party's ranks. You'll come to notice that this is a running theme among the COINTELPRO projects, using psychological warfare tactics to turn groups against each other and alien.
Ain't that happening right now? That's happening right now, by the way. If y'all are not even aware, there is obviously COINTELPRO happening to put black people against white people against black people, and to have division amongst multiple groups. The easiest version of COINTELPRO and the most obvious one is black men and black women. It is what it is. You don't think that there's actual bots that control conversation and lead people and communities online? You don't know that some of these influencers are directly sponsored and assigned to do things and move things? Bruh.
Alienate their members. To this end, literally nothing was off the table. FBI agents infiltrating meetings and posing as members to cause conflict, intelligence gathering for blackmail and extortion, and even spreading rumors to increase the tension. Though compared to just how horrific and violent their methods would later become, some blackmail and rumor spreading is pretty quaint. While the Communist Party was a perfect training ground for refining their domestic espionage techniques, the activities that would make COINTELPRO infamous were perpetrated against civil rights groups, starting in the late
There you go, man. We're going to get to it. Let's get to it then.
50s and continuing through the 60s. Dr. T.R.M. Howard, a prominent black surgeon, entrepreneur, and civil rights leader, was critical of the FBI's inaction on a number of infamous hate crimes, including the murders of Emmett Till and George Washington Lee. This prompted Hoover to turn the dangerous attentions of Sullivan and his FBI cronies to black civil rights groups, starting with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, on the
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
grounds that they were supposedly hotbeds of subversive communist activity. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference was just the tip of the iceberg, though. During their 15-year heyday, COINTELPRO would infiltrate and attack the Black Panther Party, anti-Vietnam War organizers,
Fred Hampton. Let's talk about it.
feminist groups, environmentalist and animal rights groups.
By the way, I just want to remind you that one of the famous feminist leader was CIA, by the way. Give me a quick second. I'm gonna do the Googles. Gloria Steinem, famous feminist, right? She worked with the CIA, y'all. The dude who gave the information for Fred Hampton to get popped in Chicago, CIA asset or FBI asset, I forget, but same difference, bro. Let's go.
The Nation of Islam, the Young Lords Puerto Rico Independence Group, and the American Indian Movement. In their very
even the KKK, they even infiltrated that.
Minor defense, they also did take on the Ku Klux Klan. But when you need to compare yourself to the Klan to have moral high ground, you're not doing well. Perhaps their most infamous victims were two of the most well-known civil rights leaders in American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. It all gets a whole lot worse from here. In 1963, Dr. King gave his iconic I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. While generations of people across the world were touched and inspired by this incredible piece of history, the FBI were terrified. Dr. King was dreaming too big for their liking, and they wanted to put him in his place, that place being 6 feet below the ground. Hoover ordered Sullivan to turn his attention to discrediting and destroying King and the movement he'd come to represent. Sullivan subsequently
See, even though I don't agree with Martin Luther King on a lot of things, it's clear the FBI popped him. I just, again, this was all by design. This was all by design, bro. This was all by design. Let's talk about it.
Quickly released a horrifically racist statement in the light of.
Oh, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, Jelly Bean? Much love, much love. Yeah, we talking tonight.
King's powerful demagogic speech. We must mark him now, if we've not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro and national.
Do you see what I'm talking about, man? Again, what I was talking about is they're afraid, man. They're afraid of what we can do. Let me tell you something. The oppressor knows. Let's get it, bro.
Security. The espionage began. King's home and hotel rooms were bugged, and his phones were tapped. The FBI was listening intently to his every word for blackmail material that they could use to silence King. You're probably asking, silence him? As in pressure him into discontinuing activism and renouncing his beliefs? To which we'd answer, no. They wanted Dr. King to kill himself. In 1964, after years of collecting audio evidence of Dr. King's marital affairs, King was sent a suicide package 2 days before he was supposed to collect his Nobel.
By the way, this happens a lot. This happens a lot. Where the blackmail is gathered against you in order for you to do something worse.
Nobel Peace Prize. The package included copies of the.
By the way, I want to remind y'all that all the glitters ain't gold. Right? What am I talking about? Martin Luther King was all the way cheating on his wife, and obviously it was with white women. Keep in mind, Dr. King put out a public image that he was not that, right? When in reality, he was way worse than he actually was perceived in the public. On the other end, Malcolm X himself was on a journey of healing and actually, unbecoming of what he was from a troubled background, somebody who was a savage, who was a street nigga, man. Let's stop playing. Let's go. Let's go.
Incriminating audio, as well as a truly horrifying letter. The letter, while anonymous, is believed to some to have been written by Sullivan himself. It's a verbally abusive speech that opens with King. In view of your low-grade, abnormal personal behavior, I will not dignify your name with either a Mr. or Reverend or a doctor, and your last name calls to mind only the type of king such as King Henry VIII, and his countless acts of adultery and immoral conduct lower than that of a beast. The letter almost reads like the cruelest internet comment you've ever seen, complete with a plethora of personal insults and.
See, the FBI created trolling. They created, like, this was in the 60s, bruh. You had to actually write things in paper and pen or typewriter and mail it to your op. It's not like you could just go in their chat. It's not like you had to go in the comment section. You had to actually spend time hating on a nigga. Crazy but true, man. This is the world that nothing is new under the sun, man. This was happening,
spelling errors. And much like an internet troll with a serious mean streak, the letter ends by attempting to pressure Dr. King into committing suicide. It reads, King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason, and it has a definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation. While for legal reasons, they stopped just short of saying.
Look at a hater. That's the hater. That means they wanted to pop him, man. I didn't even know this detail like that. They wanted to pop him. They're saying low key, you better get on with it before we get to it. You better get on with it before we get to it. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying, bro.
Straight up, kill yourself or we'll humiliate you. The implications are crystal clear. When King didn't give in and take.
That's called a threat. That's called a threat. That's called either do it or we gonna do you. Let's go.
His own life. Cartha Deloach, the FBI assistant director at the time, began leaking the incriminating evidence to every news outlet imaginable. They were ruthless in their willingness to destroy reputations and lives to achieve their goals, but things were going to get a whole lot worse. While they were trying to manipulate Dr. King into taking his own life, the FBI were stoking the fires of tension among the Nation of Islam and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, both known for their association with civil rights leader El-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X. Through COINTELPRO, the FBI widened the rift between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam. After a
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? How this was orchestrated? How all of this was planned? You see, reality is stranger than fiction, man. Now, I'm not doubting that Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad Ben had issues. We all know that. I think that's fairly obvious. Even a blind man can see that. But for it to be inflamed and engulfed, right? Creating turmoil, creating chaos. You don't think that these MFers planned it? Like, are you dumb, stupid, or slow? I know y'all, my audience, y'all are not none of those things. I appreciate y'all for not being that. But this was all by design. Let's get it popping then.
and
Let's
lives to
go.
achieve their goals, but things were going to get a whole lot worse. While they were trying to manipulate Dr. King into taking his own life, the FBI were stoking the fires of tension among the Nation of Islam and the Organization of Afro-American Unity.
This been happening, by the way. Anytime there's unity, anytime that there's something gonna be greater than you expect, there's these people in the backgrounds puppeteering dissent, turmoil, and chaos. Y'all know what time it is. Go.
Both known for their association with civil rights leader El-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X. Through COINTELPRO, the FBI widened the rift between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam. After a sustained harassment campaign involving infiltration, rumor mongering, and the artificial elevation of conflict, the disagreements of Malcolm X and Muhammad turned deadly, and Malcolm X was assassinated by some Nation of Islam gunmen. While the FBI denied direct involvement in the assassination, there's extremely credible.
I mean, why would they say they didn't? Why would they say, "Oh, we did that. That's our work"? You know, and it's crazy how these agencies were allegedly built to protect people, bro. Ain't that crazy?
Evidence that their involvement in exacerbating the conflict led to the murder. As the 1960s drew on, the FBI intensified its COINTELPRO operations against prominent civil rights groups, Dr. King and his associates in particular. This project was known as COINTELPRO Black Hate. According to a 1968 FBI memo, they feared that Martin Luther King Jr. was becoming a kind of messiah figure and would unite the various disparate civil rights groups into a force that could truly be reckoned with. If Dr. King ever decided to reject nonviolence and lead to an armed revolt, they would be in serious trouble. King was public enemy number one, but prominent members of groups like the Black Panthers weren't far behind. All of them had to go. The FBI concluded with numerous police departments in cities with considerable Black Panther presences, including San Diego, Los Angeles,
They got involved, by the way, with Huey P. Newton. Just know that too.
San Francisco, Oakland, Philadelphia, and Chicago. They would coordinate raids.
Predominantly black cities. Keep that in mind. Let's go.
It's into the homes of Black Panther members without warrants, during which many of said members were shot dead by police. One particularly infamous example is the assassination of Chicago Black Panther Party chairman Fred Hampton. On December 4th, 1969, Hampton was drugged and incapacitated by deep cover FBI infiltrator William O'Neill. A Chicago PD.
You don't think that they infiltrate to this day? And that's a sad thing, right? You have to see between the lines of the BS that these tactics the COINTELPRO did was so blatant and overt, right? That now they've reached very covert, very subversive, right? These individuals were doing this in counterintelligence, whatever work, in the 60s. You don't think they elevated their work 65, 70 years later? This almost 80 years later, bro.
PD tactical unit then entered his home at the FBI's behest and murdered Hampton in his bed in cold blood. No crime was too cruel and no tactic was too underhanded for COINTELPRO. With the help of colluding police departments, the FBI was able to launch a brutal harassment campaign against figures in the world of leftist politics and civil rights. Specific individuals like Elmer Geronimo Pratt, a Black Panther Party leader, were accused of crimes they didn't commit and arrested on false pretenses. Evidence was falsified, witnesses were intimidated, and legality was twisted to serve whatever purpose the FBI wanted it to. Pratt spent 27 years in jail for a fallacious murder charge just because he was a member of the Panthers. Members of the KKK, like Gary Thomas Rowe, were kept on the FBI payroll as informants, while still committing atrocities like the 16th Street.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Even the KKK were being funded, man, to have this, to create turmoil and chaos, bro. Let's
Baptist
go.
church bombing. And this wasn't an isolated incident. Under COINTELPRO, it was clear that the FBI preferred hardline white supremacist groups to black liberation movements. They funded and supported former members of the 1960s far-right group the Minutemen in their goal to create this secret army organization, essentially a militant terrorist cell that fought against civil rights groups with tactics of intimidation and outright violence.
By the way, you know that's happening right now, right? You know that's actually happening right now. That's a fact. Let's go.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of potential enemies of the FBI were spied on with everything from wiretaps to direct stalking techniques. They even teamed up with the CIA in 1967 as part of their own domestic spying project, Operation Chaos. The COINTELPRO reign of terror would consume the whole decade, a decade mostly known for flower power, free love, and imported British rock. The whole program was so sprawling that even figures like James Baldwin, Ernest Hemingway, and Muhammad Ali were on their list of enemies. Incidentally, Muhammad Ali ended up being a major force in the end of the COINTELPRO operations, as his 1971 fight with Joe Frazier acted as a form of cover, while activist group Citizens Commission to Investigate the FBI broke into an FBI field office in Pennsylvania. The group stole critical files on the COINTELPRO.
I actually did not know this. This is interesting. Let's go.
Operations and blew the lid on the whole sordid affair, leading to considerable scandals and shame for the FBI and the public eye. Within a year, J. Edgar Hoover had announced that centralized COINTELPRO operations were officially over. And while the FBI has hardly been squeaky clean since, the dissolution of the centralized COINTELPRO operations was an undeniable win for anyone who likes the idea of living in a truly free country. Of course, only a fraction of the files were stolen, and many of the files subsequently released by the FBI have been heavily altered and redacted. The fact is, we will never know the full extent of the FBI's sinister activities between 1956 and 1971. But what we do know is that the FBI activities under the COINTELPRO umbrella were some of the most terrifying and illegal in American history. Groups who were simply exercising their quintessentially American First Amendment rights were attacked, defamed, arrested, and dissolved. And the people who formed these groups were at best threatened and manipulated, and at worst murdered and pressured towards suicide. We wish we could give you a more comforting ending, but instead, we'll leave you with two questions. What are the chances that COINTELPRO was an isolated incident? And what else have the FBI done that we don't even know about? Check out FBI's most violent, most wanted of all time. And
Hey, man. If you don't get it by now, I hope you do get it. I believe I laid down a blueprint that's pretty hard to miss. It's very obvious that the feds and them people did it. It's extremely obvious. To what extent, you decide, you research. But I want to leave y'all with this. This still happening today, man. Today. And that's why I wanted to do this stream, man. We're not talking about the foolishness, man. Because the foolishness itself is COINTELPRO. Digital COINTELPRO, y'all. And that's how I'm going to leave y'all to it, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. We had a lot of fun. We did what we had to do. Rest in peace to the amazing and incomparable Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Malik Shabazz. Somebody who was a great inspiration. And his mission keeps on going on, man. I appreciate everybody who pulled up. Even the weird trolls in the chat. Shout out to the homie Jilly being here, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody who was able to spend the night with me. Y'all could be anywhere else, but y'all chose to be here with me, man. I appreciate y'all. And I won't say stay woke. I say stay smart. Stay ahead. Educate yourself. Be better than they expect and overcome. And I'm out. Peace.